Hi, I'm Martin Webster from the Relief Programme, and today we're going to be looking at HMS Therapy and the parts integration, how it can transform a client's life. What we've got now is a video now on a client I work with who's ex-forces, and he has a problem with drinking, and we want to resolve the internal conflict with drinking. So in this video now we've got to establish which part wants to be at the bar, which part wants to be in control of his life. So I've got him now to get both of his hands, I'm trying to get his both hands out in front of him, so it's a bit of a stress position really, and on those hands I want the problem to split into two parts. So he's not understanding so what I'm doing, I'm just suggesting to him now a problem I've had in the past. So I'm just trying to use myself as a model now. So he's established now which side feels guilty and which side doesn't want to drink. So we've established now one side wants to get into work and to move forward in his life, one side just wants to get drunk and sort of self-destructive nature, and he's in conflict with that. So for this I get him to close his eyes, shut out any conscious faculties or conscious information that may be coming in from the room. So he's totally focused on himself now, on this internal conflict with himself. HMS will then drop you into, by using a script, drop you into the therapy session. So I'm reading the script to him now. I'm getting him to focus on these internal modalities connected to the problematic situation that he wants to resolve. So as master practitioners, it's really important that you set your intent on what you want to achieve, and for this it will be to get his hands to come together, and eventually once they've come together to pull them back into his heart. So just reference there the way I'm sat, it's not the best posture to get into with doing. I would recommend that you sit back in your chair and you're more relaxed. The only reason I did it for this video is because I wanted to show myself working with this client, so I was sort of sat forwards, but normally I would sit back and I'd be more relaxed. Sitting forward, you're actually in a conscious state of mind, it's not actually your best. So I've actually slowed this therapy session down by just sat in that position. It's just a really important point to note. So what I've got to do now is establish who or what is in his right hand. And he's just said me. And then find out what's in his left hand, which will probably be me. Himself, but as a drunk version of himself. So already his conflict has swapped over from what he established at the beginning. So if that happens, don't worry about it. Just go with the flow, keep to the script. Now what we've got to do is we've got to take the two versions of himself and chunk up to the highest intent, which is going to help him, it's going to really benefit himself. So the question technique I'm using is a Milton model technique, which is for what purpose for you? What does that do for you? What's the highest intent? So those three questions there are what I just loop continuously until he reaches his highest intent, which is the greater good, if you like, of being a drunken version of himself, and also on his other hand, which was just himself, what's the highest intention of himself? So you've got the negative version of himself, you've got the positive version of himself. We're chunking up and we're trying to get to love. So his right hand's now at love. Now we need the drunken version of himself at love as well, to establish Once we've established that, then we can struggle a little bit on the right hand, because this is the conflict side, which normally takes longer. So we established that he wants to stay in control and not be drunk, because he doesn't want to lose everything. So we've got a great motivator there for change. Eventually we get to love, and so both parts of the conflict. The reason why we do that is to establish a negotiation between two parts of the conflict for resolution. So it's like a warring couple. There'll be part of a warring couple that love each other, and there'll also be a part that hate each other. So it's trying to establish the loving part to get a negotiation to come together. So now we've got hands in position, he's right into the therapy. All we've got to worry about now is what's stopping them coming together. This is the simple bit, right? As a master practitioner, your linguistic skill sets will be the key to bringing these two parts together. Believe me, if this is a real challenging conflict for this person, they won't just pull their hands together. I've seen people do it, and it's not done unconsciously, it's done consciously. Their ego has just got bored and given up. The majority of the people I've worked with, 99.9% of the people I've worked with, have pretty much worked hard and had to dig deep on this, because if it's an internal conflict, they're not going to bring their hands together. It's just not. They almost be like two magnets pushing them apart. And on this video, you probably see this guy's hands getting closer, then further apart. So sometimes that happens. Sometimes the hands getting will never come together, which I've had, especially relationships, like a toxic domestic violence relationship. So his hands just pushed apart further then. So be aware that's going to happen. So every part's integration is completely different, because every human being is unique. There is still the same pattern with all of this. And the fact is, you just keep chunking up till you reach the negotiation on both hands, and then all it is what's the negative colours that's stopping the hands from coming together, and you follow that inside to the person, so within themselves, back within inside themselves, into their heart, into their stomach, until we resolve the conflict. And I'm just guiding, I'm facilitating the change here. If you listen to my tones, they're very calm, they're very gentle. But the whole purpose of this is to get him to really focus on what's the problem. The level of unconscious language I'm using here, and also rewarding every time he lets go of something negative, I'm rewarding him. Positive reinforcement of what he's doing well. As he's dropping through numbness, nothings, don't knows, that's just the conscious barriers that are being thrown up to prevent him from changing. Remember, the conscious mind doesn't want to change, so the unconscious has to always force it and override all the modalities, so eventually it does change. So what I'm doing is just, what's the negative sensation that's stopping these hands from coming together? What is it? What's the negative feeling? What's the negative colour? As soon as he says a negative colour, negative feeling, drop below that, what's below that, what's below that, what's below that, until I get a positive resource. Once I've established a positive resource, the hands should move closer together. We're coming up for nearly 10 minutes in now on this parts integration. As a master prac, you need to stay focused and have your intent firmly set on resolving this conflict. You notice my tones start to change now, and they're more conscious, they're louder tones, they're more direct tones, they're more authoritarian tones to establish. The reason why I'm doing that, because he's ex-military, he's used to being following instructions and commands. So by speaking in that tone, I intuitively feel this is the right tone to work with him to get the best result because of his military past. So I'm actually using quite a lot of cognitive references in sense of what he's done in the past. How's that served him? What results is he getting from drinking? And as you recognise, he's not getting any. So I'm not trying to take alcohol away from him because he's finding it's about recognising that he can have a drink and he can go out and enjoy himself without it ruining his night. So we're nearly 12 minutes in, coming up for 12 minutes in, I'm constantly referring to his daughter and what this might be impacting on him, how this may be impacting on him, on her and him, so he starts to recognise what he's losing, what he's missing out. So I'm swearing because he used the swearing terms himself, fucking over himself. So I'm using that, who you fucking over, and he's establishing he fucked over himself. He's fucking over himself. He's ruining his life. So use the words that they use. If they use the swear word, then you're going to have to use that swear word because that's their word. You've got to keep their words really still because that means something to them. And at the moment, you can see his hands are still pretty much far apart. But once the barriers start to come away, there'll be nothing stopping them. So I'm saying now about the worst thing connected to drinking. If you notice, his head is right in his emotional side now, deep into his emotional side. And we're dropping into some stuff connected to Iraq, connected to where he served in the past and the bad things he's experienced. And the root cause is connected to drinking excessively and ruining his life, the self-sabotage. And all I'm doing is what's beneath that, drop beneath that, drop beneath that. What's beneath that? There's nothing complex about this technique. It's very simple. We've just got to get those hands together. And the only thing that's stopping it from coming together is the negative blocks. Every time you get a negative block, you just drop below that, drop below that, drop below that, till you reach a positive. Once you reach positive, drop beneath the black, what's beneath the black, drop beneath the black, what's beneath the black. If you have to, just say drop beneath the darkness. Great little tip there. He's struggling with what's beneath the darkness, because what you've got to imagine, he's going into his shadow side now. He's resolving a conflict with his shadow side that's causing problems. Dropping into the drink. What's beneath the drink? Dropping into his shadow side, evil's coming up, words that are associated with not loving himself. he's establishing this thing as a thing attached to himself. So in his unconscious mind, he believes something is attached to him, meddling with him. I feel like the sort of concept of the word demon drink. He's getting him focused on now what's important to his life, his mum, his daughter, his father, all those important factors in his life. Getting him to accept himself is really important. So I'm bringing that up because I know when working with low self-worth, low self-esteem, people that drink to get confidence, it's low self-worth. So it's for getting them to accept themselves so they feel in control. So what I'm doing now is I'm using a not pattern, anything less than total white, total peace. It's not a demon though, isn't it? So like he's using this reference of a demon, like being negative, connected to himself, demon drink. What's the negative colour stopping these parts from coming together? So anything less than total white is not demon, darkness though, isn't it? So by using that, by throwing 3 knots in that, you scramble the conscious mind up, so the conscious mind can't process it, so it gives you the answer, the reverse opposite of the demon drink. You can use your hypnosis techniques, your therapeutic hypnosis techniques to lighten up the colours, which will also bring the hands. So, what does Ross need to do to let this go? So he's disassociated. By doing that, he's getting him to disassociate from himself. And he's come up with focus. I need to focus. Hands have got further apart now. We're coming up to the end of the film, but his hands have got... What's important to you? What's important? Just repeating now, what's stopping these parts? What's stopping these hands from coming together? He's congruent now with putting these colours into his heart. His hands come together. Now he's focused on his daughter. He's pulled his daughter into his heart. See what you got to see. Feel what you got to feel. So I'm anchoring now with positive colours, the positive feelings and sensations connected to bringing his daughter into his heart. He's quite tearful. He's quite emotional, and there's been a good shift. And now what I'm doing is getting his head now to have a good look around his body, but with his eyes closed to make sure there's no attachments, no negative colours, no negative feelings. It's quite a spiritual connection when they do parts integration with themselves, because they're resolving with their soul, they're resolving with their inner being, their person, their purpose in life. It can be quite powerful when you're re-identifying them with their source, their sort of inner coding, what they're really about, not what they believe they're about, or what their ego thinks they're about. And so that's Master Practitioner. Thanks for watching the English program. Please subscribe and